What is meth psychosis? Well, meth-induced psychosis is when somebody does a lot of methamphetamines, or sometimes even a little, and they go into a state of psychosis where they can't make sense out of anything. They can't distinguish the real from the false. They imagine things. They become imaginative. They think that they hear things. They think that they see things. They hallucinate. Sometimes they come up with these ideologies that are just, they're just out of this world. Like nothing makes sense. Often they will think that the FBI or the CIA is onto them. They hear noises in the walls. They think that people have set up cameras in their houses. They think that people have set up cameras in their cars. I say this from experience. I used to be a meth user. I myself never went into a state of psychosis. However, I did see certain people that were around me that would get that way. One of them, for example, was this guy who we were using the same amount of meth, but for some reason, something about him, he was a little bit different. He must have been living on some secrets or something more deeply rooted that was going on with him. He really, really assumed and thought that there was some of our friends that had branched off and weren't our friends anymore that were living inside of his walls, that have snuck in there against his consent and put some cameras in the walls as well as in the ceilings and also inside of his car. So he would often drive around and think that they're listening to him. Sometimes he said it's hard for him to take showers because he felt like they were in the shower watching him. And it got to the point where I even came to his house one time and he had a stethoscope and he greeted me at the door with his stethoscope and told me to listen to the walls. And I asked him, what am I listening to? And he said, there's people in the walls. They're talking. And I'd tell him, what are they saying? And he'd say, they're talking about you. They've been talking about me all day. Now they're talking about you. And I just remember looking at him and thinking, do you really think that you're that important that people are going to come and set up and watch you in the walls? Sometimes you talk about the FBI and I'd say, have you created it? Have you done any federal offenses for the FBI to actually be on your tail? Now, since I came into the professional setting and working in the field of addiction, I've definitely had a lot of different types of people that have come into my care that have suffered from meth psychosis, meth-induced psychosis. Some of them, usually the psychosis will come about when they're on meth and it lingers. Sometimes it's just while they're high. Sometimes it lingers for a few days. Sometimes it lingers for a few weeks and sometimes for a few months. Now, I've also seen them come and see a psychiatrist and get some medication and they end up, stabilizing. And for the most part, many of them normalize. Hopefully that they stay that way. But the problem is sometimes mental health issues could have already been there within them. So when they do meth, it intensifies their mental health issues, or they obtain new mental health issues, which then, every time that they go back to that lifestyle, if they go and relapse and they try meth again, it takes them right back down that path where the voices occur, or the thought processes, the different scenarios that they make up in their head happen again. And the problem is a lot of times when I'm dealing with certain people, they actually believe what they're saying. And I often tell them that, listen, this isn't reality. And I want you to know, you need to get better. You need to get sober, because if you don't get sober and you keep doing meth, this will just get worse and worse. And you'll be like those people that are either sitting in the alley, sitting on the ground, talking to themselves, or just walking down the street and screaming in the sky at nothing, or just having conversations with themselves. So it's a very serious issue, a very serious matter, and it needs to be addressed. If somebody that is suffering with meth psychosis, please feel free to reach out to me. You can call this phone number, or you can click that link to get more information about meth psychosis.
Cool.
That's the one right there.
Yeah.